Hi, you're about to hear what contains two recordings for a podcast called The Soul of Enterprise. The first half of the recording is when we went live and did the actual podcast episode that was posted to the public. And the second half is called the bonus episode, which is not posted to the public, is only behind a paywall for a group of people that subscribe with a paid subscription to that podcast. Now, I'm going to put in the description all the links to subscribing to the original podcast. I strongly recommend that you subscribe to The Soul of Enterprise. This is the 400 and something episode, and I've listened to all 400 plus episodes, plus over 100 bonus episodes because I'm a member of their paid network. And this podcast has transformed my life. It talks about topics about economics and small business and professional services and accountants and pricing and technology and all the things that affect my world. And after listening to many episodes, both the free podcast and the paid podcast, it was a total honor to be a guest in a regular episode of The Soul of Enterprise with my friends Ed Kless, Ron Baker, and Greg Tirico, who's sort of in the back end doing all the social media stuff. So I hope you enjoy, and check out the description for the links to the actual podcast so you can subscribe to it as well.
We're not exactly sure what we're going to talk about, Hector. So don't, we'll just make it flow. I mean,
ask him about tech, Ed. Ask him about his app and social media, and I'll talk to him about his pivot.
Yeah.
Okay. You can talk about the pivot, but I'm in segment 1, Hector. So I'm going to read the bio and start the questioning.
I've been obsessed with GPT a bit, and I started a Facebook group. We already have 900 something people in it. I'm sort of launching. I'm trying to launch the community of Jason Statz really is the guy that's probably going to be in the forefront of this. I don't know, Ed, if you're familiar with Jason.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's probably going to be the one that takes the AI baton. And I've chatted with him quite a bit about it. And but I would love to start the conversation. It's kind of like the people that follow me. So I'm trying to get them sort of a bit more comfortable with the stuff. I mean, a lot of these people are just afraid, like really, really afraid. And if it continues like that, it's going to catch them by surprise. So they won't be able to catch up.
Well, I've tried to put it this way because we had this conversation in my house, and I probably will might bring this back up on the show when we talk too. But my son Sean has used ChatGPT to help him get started on some essays for school. And my wife Christine was like, "Well, should he be doing that?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, he should be doing it." I mean, those that can figure out a way to integrate it into their workflow are the ones who are going to be far ahead of everybody else. So
yeah,
I mean, it's sort of like saying, and so this is to Hector, this is to your point. It's like, well, when they invented the calculator or the adding machine, did we say, well, we really should not use that technology because it's going to take jobs away from people who are adding numbers up? And you're like, well, it's the same thing, just with letters instead of numbers.
Yeah. No, I was chatting with Carlos, my brother, who's my philosophical conversation partner. I'm very blessed to have a person I could, just talk nonsense to and won't be judged for it. Mm-hmm. And we're going through like, what are the interview questions going to look like in the future? Because I sent you guys a little clip that somebody posted on Twitter where they had the AR glasses and it was listening to the questions and it was answering on the spot. So and I was thinking, you can't stop it, right? It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's going to come in. What are the interview questions of the future? And the first one I can think of here is, I want to ask the candidate, hey, how would you use GPT to make your work more efficient? And I'm using the word efficient, not effective. Mm-hmm. And then after I get the answer to go, okay, what will you do with that efficiency? What will you do with that efficiency? And then, and a candidate that's already sort of in both sides, is techie enough to be comfortable with ChatGPT, and then sort of a person that can understand the value of using tools as a means to provide value to the standard human touch, that's probably going to be the candidate of the future. So we were thinking about like, what are those interview questions going to look like when they're going to be using ChatGPT? And I'm not saying ChatGPT to answer you on the interview. I'm saying they're going to use ChatGPT for the job. Yeah. So do you really want to hire an employee that's going to go ChatGPT what? Like like it would really suck to hire like a 25-year-old person that you say, hey, use ChatGPT, and they ask you what is that? So I think you almost have to include it in the questions, just like you ask, do you know about QuickBooks, or do you know about Excel? Like it's one of the just standard tools that you have to use. And I think it was like Jason mentioned in a comment. He said like before ChatGPT, just knowing how to Google stuff was a very underrated skill that people weren't looking at. Like if you really take a look at two people, one that is effective at finding answers in Google, and one that it really isn't. I mean, that could tell you a lot about that candidate's potential.
Yeah, sure. We've been talking about the angle that ChatGPT is going to enable us, or just increase more beautiful questions. Yeah, it's gonna increase our questioning skills.
Yeah, the Zoom being recorded, the video.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but we don't do anything with it, do we? We don't post the video, do we, on Patreon?
No, occasionally.
We've been posting videos to YouTube, but not these. They're the audiogram videos.
But let me know if you want to post this one to my YouTube, or maybe the after show or something. We can promote.
Hector,
the show
I can give you a full video file.
We're emerging from the economy of the Industrial Revolution, an economy confined to and limited by the Earth's physical resources, into the economy in mind, in which there are no bounds on human imagination, and the freedom to create is the most precious natural resource.
And welcome to the Soul of Enterprise, Business in the Knowledge Economy, sponsored by Sage, building experiences that connect, remove friction, and deliver insights. I'm Ed Kless with my friend and co-host Ron Baker, and folks, on today's show, we are thrilled to have with us our interview with Hector Garcia. How's it going, Ron?
Really good, Ed. Wow, this has been a heck of a week. It feels good to be on my own show. I've been interviewed all week on a bunch of shows, so this is good. Back to normal.
All right, back to normal, right? Yeah, it's tough sometimes to get the tables turned on you like that, though.
It is. But I'm looking forward to turning the tables on Hector. So
absolutely. So let me read them in, and we'll get started. Jump right to the meat of our program. Hector Garcia is a certified public accountant licensed in Florida, an entrepreneur and YouTuber who specializes in providing educational content on accounting, finance, and business management. He has a strong online presence with his YouTube channel and Facebook groups, where he shares tutorials, lectures, and expert advice on a variety of topics, including QuickBooks and tax preparation, financial analysis, and small business management. Hector holds several master/postgraduate degrees in accounting, finance, and taxation from Florida International University. He is also a founder and the CEO of Quick Bookkeeping and Accounting LLC, a Miami-based firm founded in 2009. Welcome to the Soul of Enterprise, Hector Garcia.
Oh, thank you, Ed, Ron. It's an honor. I've been a fan of this show for many, many years. I'm ready to get started. Let's talk something interesting.
Let's jump in. Well, just for the benefit of some of our audience members who haven't heard of you, because you are definitely one of our super fans for sure. Other than what's in the bio, give a little bit of history, of background of what you've come from and what you're doing.
Yeah, so long story short, I started in technology. I worked for Geek Squad, and I quit Geek Squad to start my own sort of tech consulting firm. I did pretty much network administration and software support, that sort of thing for several years. And then and I'm going to shorten the story, for almost exclusively the necessity to get health insurance, I quit entrepreneurship and I went to work for a bank. And I worked for a bank for several years, and I kind of found that passion between my tech background and my newfound love for finance by working in a bank. And I said, when I was done with the bank, I said, I'm going to start a bookkeeping firm. And it basically just happened just like that. Through that process, I was going to school and spent a lot of years in school. And 2009 happened, and the financial collapse happened, and it made sense not to be in a bank anymore. And I said, hey, I want to help the people I was trying to get approved for a loan during these very tough times. I want to actually help them put the numbers together. So I basically switched to the other side. I wanted to be the ally of the small business, putting together the finances so they can navigate the tough waters of that financial conundrum that we had during 2009. And then I started doing some training. Some people started asking me to show them how to do this stuff on their own computer, so they no longer need me to do it. They wanted to do it themselves. And I basically became addicted to that moment where people go, oh, that's how it works. Thank you. And it became like a drug, man. And I at that point, I realized that, yes, I'm an accountant. Yes, I'm pretty good at that. I'm a technologist. Yes, I'm pretty good at that. And I became a CPA. And yes, I'm good at that. And I do taxes. But what I really, really love is to empower others to take control over their lives. Whether in my case, it's through doing their own accounting, but just the concept of empowering someone to have confidence on their work, have confidence on their numbers, and have confidence on the decisions they make for their business. To me, that's gold. And that's when I became passionate to become a trainer, and my YouTube channel is a byproduct of that.
Well, I think that's why, Hector, you and I have gotten along so well, because I view my role as consultant. You've probably heard me say this on the show. Is my intent is to help the folks that I interact with make the best possible decision for them and their organization. And that's a broad way. You're doing it very specifically with accounting and making the financial decisions, but it's the same thing in the end.
Absolutely. I mean, not just financial decisions. I mean, financial decisions such as, should I buy this? Should I pay for this? Should I invest in this? Should I hire? Should I fire? Should I market in this? Should I market to this crowd or not? I mean, these are all really important things for your business. But in the small business world, your personal decisions, the things that you do in your life and your business, they're very much intertwined. So you're not helping the business be successful in a vacuum. You're helping an entire family or a group of families be happier and have healthier and longer lives as an aggregate. So the role of the small business advisor, whether it's in finance or technology or marketing, it goes much deeper than just profitability. Like, profitability is one of the avenues, is one of the results from doing good work with your client, but the profitability has a meaning, and profitability enables people to take more vacations. For example, one of my mantras in life is I help people take more vacations. People ask me, what's your purpose? I help people take more vacations. What, you're a travel agent? No, I'm not a travel agent. I help people take more vacations because I help them run their business well. I help them have confidence in the numbers so they can make better decisions, be profitable, hire employees, learn how to delegate to them. So then finally they can disconnect and take a vacation. So there's always an end in mind, and that's my end in mind. Because when I started my business, the one thing that I struggled the most, especially with little kids and being a young small business owner and an accountant, a young accountant, which is harder to get that credibility boost, right? Because you just started, you're green. I had to work a lot, and I didn't take a lot of vacations. And I noticed that all of my clients were kind of on the same boat. So to me, that's the important part. That's the end in mind.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about the emergence of your YouTube channel, which, last I checked, is closing in on 250,000 subscribers. Is that right?
Yes. I have a plaque in the back. You can't see it on podcast format, but we got that plaque for 100,000 during the pandemic. And that was a moment where my kids were more excited than me, because the kids, they know about what the YouTube plaques mean. But it's not many channels reach 100,000. And, so we're super excited that we're double that already.
Yeah, and to mention that, because I went out, took a little, and you've got family videos out there. You talk about the technology side, which we'll get into next, but it's really a reflection of your entire life, not just the finance piece.
Yeah, I don't have as many family videos as I could or should, but I've been fascinated with the mind of my 6 and 7 year olds, and anytime I have the opportunity to have a discussion about what taxes or accounting means to them, which is pretty hilarious, maybe I'll do a quick video and put it in my YouTube channel. But for the most part, I try to stay on message, about business and profitability and accounting.
And let's talk now to turn our attention to some technology stuff. You have been one of the foremost thinkers in moving into ChatGPT and using it as part of your accounting practice. So talk a little bit about your experimentation there.
Yeah. So ChatGPT, for some background, it's a tool that allows you to write to it and it writes back to you. And it's a Coca-Cola formula. It's a void of technology that happens behind the scenes. But the point is that it actually works and really well and very impressively. So when you start thinking about the constant type of communications that you do in a day-to-day, such as answering emails, such as writing scripts for videos or podcasts, such as just thinking of business ideas, like business ideation, sometimes you might not have someone to just exchange philosophically that information with, or maybe you don't even know how to put together your thoughts. So ChatGPT is this inanimate object where you can just write and write and write and write and refine and tweak until you get possibly your thoughts together. I'm not a writer. I've never been a good writer. That's why I make videos and not write books. But ChatGPT has really helped me organize my message and my thinking. So some of the things that I've done is I've drafted contracts, quick contracts, and agreement letters for clients. I've helped clients sort of say, hey, get the contract started in ChatGPT and then get this 90% of it and then take it to your lawyer, so your lawyer can charge you a lot less. So basically, I'm helping people get 80-90% of the way there, and I'm helping myself get 80-90% of the way there, and then I'm using the experts to kind of put the bow at the end. And I think that's what AI is going to be. It's going to be a tool that's going to help you get almost there, and then we need that experience, intuition, judgment to put the finishing touches. And the other thing that we've done is we're starting to explore I have an app, I developed an app, and I'm the designer of the app, not the developer of the app. I have a development team, and we're thinking, okay, how can we use ChatGPT to improve accounting workflows? So we're starting to think through that and beta testing it a little bit, and it's really exciting. What ChatGPT is going to bring forth is really exciting.
I'm going to back up a little second. We don't have too much time to go deeper into technology, which probably we will do in the third segment when I talk to you again. But we've got about 2 minutes left. Jumping back to you've helped people write contracts and then bring them to the lawyers. What has been the reaction of the lawyers when you show or when your customer shows up, partially written contract in hand, and says, "I just want you to review this"?
Yeah. So there was two situations. So one, I didn't tell the client not to mention ChatGPT. So the client was super excited to tell the lawyer it was ChatGPT. The lawyer didn't know what it meant and basically tossed the whole thing out and rewrote it. So I'm not even going to, because it's just that initial reaction, right? The second person, I told him, hey, don't tell him ChatGPT found it. Did it. Just say that you found this template online. And when they told the person they found the template online, that lawyer basically didn't even think about the fact that it was written by ChatGPT and go, yep, that sounds like a templated, a basic template that you found online. And he basically just put the finishing touches and that's it. It was like a subcontractor agreement, like a 1099 subcontractor agreement.
What's interesting though is that I listened to some legal podcasts, and one of them talks about how like these big high power law firms now have replaced a lot of they've been able to hire fewer lower level attorneys, bringing them into the firm because they use not necessarily ChatGPT but AI technology to do a first draft of their brief. That's what they do now.
Yeah, unfortunately, in law, most of these things are regurgitations of the last one. Like I have one attorney I have a client attorney who's a patent attorney, an IP attorney, and I was telling him about my technology, and I was sitting down with him. We're very friendly, and I asked him, hey, can you put together something so we can patent the code or we can copyright the code. And the guy says, okay, let me dust off an old template. And he went through his templates and he showed me, and he's like, this template might work, this template might work. And at the end, it just shows you that most of legal is literally copy paste from the last thing they did. And, what better type of technology than a language model like ChatGPT to sort of replace that type of work.
The first ever contract that I got involved in when I was young and we were starting a partnership, and I was asked to become partners with this guy. The contract that was handed over to me had, instead of United States of America, had Liberia throughout the contract. So the country of Liberia. So this was clearly been happening for a long time. This is now 30 years ago. Somebody took a WordPerfect template and said, "Oops, I forgot to search and replace on the country name."
It's pretty funny for sure.
Yep. All right. Well, we're up against our first break. Want to remind our listeners that they can get a hold of Ron or me by sending an email to asktsoe@verisage.com. Of course, the website is The Soul of Enterprise, where you can see show notes as well as previews to upcoming shows. We want to remind you that you can rate this podcast by going to ratethispodcast.com/TSOE, where you can rate this podcast. And we'd love for you to do that because that helps others find the show. We really appreciate it. But right now, a word from our sponsors.
You are tuned into The Soul of Enterprise with Ron Baker and Ed Kless. To find out more about our show, visit us on the web at thesoulofenterprise.com. You can also chat with us on Twitter using hashtag AskTSOE. Now, back to The Soul of Enterprise.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with Hector Garcia, certainly one of the profession's thought leaders. Hector, let's go macro for a minute before we go micro. I've been dying to ask you this question. There's a lot of talk on a lot of different podcasts in our world about the shortage of talent, the pipeline for CPAs, the 150-hour rule, our starting salaries too low. What about the work-life issue when these firms are just burning people out? What do you think about all this?
Well, I think it's a manifestation of a couple of things. So one, even if it's just tax season, which is 2 months or 3 months or whatever, the work-life balance of having employees work until 9, 10, 11, 12, it's just not right. It's not right for your health, not right for your family. And even though it's temporary, I think this feeling of resentment sort of builds into people, and people tend to like every tax season, it's like a punch in the face, right? So it's like, next one will be my last, and next one will be my last, and next one will be my last. And I think in this industry has been acceptable for too long, forcing employees, or at least blackmailing them, or however they get people to say yes to working this crazy amount of hours, especially during high season. So that's going to be the first factor. That's just not attractive at all, especially when they don't let them work from home. Because I found it, like, when we switched to working from home during the pandemic, and now hybrid, because I still do feel that getting together in person has a certain magic that you can't replicate via Zoom. But when people work, the days that people work from home, they work more. Like I see it with the email responses, right? So when they work from the office, after 5, I won't get a response from any of my employees, or at least most of them. And the day they're working from home, I get responses at 7, 8. So people want to work later and work harder when the firms are more flexible. But these firms that make people work at the office and then take the 1-hour commute on top of that, I mean, it's just brutal. It's brutal. That's the first thing. Second, and this is not anecdotal, my partner in the app that we developed was an accountant and was fed up with it and became a coder, right? So he went back to school and learned how to do coding. So we lost one, and we lost a great one. I mean, I got him, so we're building an app for accounting together. But that's a perfect example. It's somehow something in our profession was off-putting about, like, he still loves accounting, but he just felt that doing the accounting itself wasn't the part. So solving for accounting, it's a different issue altogether. But that's a person that we lost in the profession. I mean, he's still serving us, but we lost. And I think that the promise of tech, the promise of crypto, and now the promise of AI is going to make it even harder for us to keep people. I don't think the 150 hour honestly was the cause of the problem. I know 150 hours to get your CPA, reducing that to 120. It's a proposed solution to get people to feel that it's less of a hard investment in a university or higher degree to be able to become a CPA. I think I like the solution, but it's really important to keep in mind that didn't cause the problem in the first place. What caused the problem was the long hours, the overcomplication and regulation. I mean, I remember talking to accountants during 2020 and 2021, and some of them said, hey, I'm done with PPP. I don't want to read this in a daily basis anymore. I don't want to read the updates anymore. I'm done with ERC. So like all these complex government programs that were also built almost like on the fly, and they were being revised every week or so. It was just exhausting. It was exhausting. And it's not exhausting because you have to read and be updated. It's exhausting because as accountants, we take pride of knowing what's going on and being in a place where you're uncertain of your own knowledge because things are moving so fast, and so disorganized. That is discouraging, like, to your soul. So I think we lost a lot of people also during the pandemic when they went, you know what, I cannot deal with something like this anymore. It was too much.
Right. Did you come in under the 150 hour rule when you
yeah,
CPA? You did.
Yeah.
Okay, so it didn't deter
I have like
you.
200 hours, so to me it was a little easier. But yeah.
I mean, you alluded to this, but can you expand a little bit more about the business model? Because the way I think about this is, Dr. Paul told us, if you screw in light bulbs in your home and 50% of them blow out, it's not the light bulbs, it's the electrical system. And to me, the electrical system is the business model in this case. How much of a role do you think that plays?
A big one, because if you are able to charge your client as a percentage of the value that you create, and obviously you know this very well, Ron and Ed, but not just that, as a portion of the value you guys create together, it gets a lot easier to then compensate your employees proportionally. The challenge that we still have is, well, number one, many firms charge by the hour. So obviously that's the only way to pay an employee more, assuming you're going to pay overtime or get paid more, it's going to be through more work. So it's basically just a function of time and labor, which is the only way to grow would be to make your people work more. So obviously that's a problem. But even with, and I experienced this firsthand, even with us, the firms that have moved to value pricing, we still have a disconnection because we still pay our employees by the hour. So this consternation of even firms that have done really well at switching to fixed pricing or value pricing, they still pay their employees by the hour, and there's still not a good way, a way to connect these two things. So what the subscription model might bring, and I'm hoping this is one of the fruits of switching to the subscription model, is the employees themselves also coming back to you and going, hey, we need a subscription model type of transformation to our compensation plan, because your employees subscribe. You as a firm, you subscribe to your employees, right? That's
right.
Essentially what we do.
Yeah.
So we have a disconnection there now. So and I don't know if I think I can solve both in my firm particularly, but I think if I have a successful switch or transition to subscription for my customers, and my customers are paying what the work is worth, and there's enough revenue there, and it's fixed and predictable, we can also try to move our employees' compensation to sort of go up and down with the subscriptions. And if you can somehow have teams of people that manage clusters of customers that have this subscription revenue, and these teams can successfully maintain that relationship or grow it without having to necessarily grow the team, there needs to be a way for that compensation to sort of grow proportionally. So the employees are also feeling that they're part of that process, and the subscription model is not only being beneficial to the firm, it's being beneficial to them as well. So I think that that's going to be an important piece, and we've had an issue with our compensation models for too many years. And the other issue is, and I think this is true for all professions, but I can't believe that us, the accountants, the ones that know the numbers, haven't addressed this, is everyone knows that if you jump from firm to firm, you can get 30% increases on your salary, but staying in the same firm, you could probably get an inflation adjustment of 5 to 10% if you're lucky. How come we haven't addressed that problem? How come we have not created dynamic compensation plans that are they're attached to the value the employee brings to the business, not how many years they've been with you? Because we also have to think of value pricing and potentially subscription when it comes to the accumulated value of the employee that has the more years are with you.
Right. Reed Hastings wrote about this in No Rules Rule, where I guess Netflix, if you go out and say, hey, somebody at my position, my level, my experience, my market wage is $200,000 and they're paying you 150, they'll up you to $200,000. You don't have to threaten them to leave. You say, look, this is my market value. Give them some evidence and they up your pay. It's a fascinating model. I was really intrigued by that section of that book.
Yeah. And the only challenge I have with that is I don't think we can go to market to figure out the value of our employees in today's age, because many uncredentialed accountants, people that don't have CPAs or EAs or anything, but they're really, really good at the tech. They're really, really good at integrating apps. They're really, really good at maybe teaching the client how to use the app and sort of connecting the pipes, how Doug's leader says. That person can be 10 times more valuable than a 20, 30-year veteran CPA that maybe knows a lot about tax or maybe knows a lot about GAAP or whatever it happens to be. So we might not have sufficient market information about the value of this sort of hybrid of accounting, understanding, techie person. Like, we know how much techie people are, programmers and stuff like that. The problem is that the programmers, the coders, all these people have a market rate that most firms, we don't need coders and programmers. We don't need that level of tech. We need that strange sort of hybrid of technician that knows finance, knows the nuances of a small business and a small business owner, and also understands the inner workings of the firm, and somehow can triangulate these three things to make the needle move in our firm and our relationships with our accountants. So I don't think we have quite a good understanding to how much a really good techie type person is worth.
Right. And like you say, I mean, one of the things that gives me misgivings about the Netflix model is that we always say in the knowledge economy, it's the people that have value, not the job title. And just going out and look at markets, it doesn't account for the tacit knowledge you have about that organization. Like Ed, being at Sage for however many years, has enormous tacit knowledge about that organization. He's far more valuable to them than maybe on the free market, that type of thing. So anyway, Hector, this is great. And when my last shot at you is going to be the last segment, and I want to talk to you about more about your firm's pivot to subscription. But in the meantime, folks, if you want to contact me or Ed, send us an email to asktsoe@verisage.com. Do check out our Patreon channel where you can become a subscriber and get access to our bonus shows and other material. That's at patreon.com/TSOE. And that channel is now sponsored by 90 Minds. It's a matter of mind. Check them out at 90minds.com. And now a word from our sponsors.
You are tuned into The Soul of Enterprise with Ron Baker and Ed Class. To find out more about our show, visit us on the web at thesoulofenterprise.com. You can also chat with us on Twitter using hashtag AskTSOE. Now, back to The Soul of Enterprise.
And we have with us today on The Soul of Enterprise, Hector Garcia, CPA, technology YouTuber extraordinaire. And let's turn our conversation back to the technology. You're talking a little bit about the ChatGPT stuff. We got off on a tangent about due to my question on lawyers. But what is it that you are doing with ChatGPT inside your app? I'm real curious about that.
Yeah, so ever since ChatGPT came out, I've been obsessed to figure out what's the magic prompt to get this thing to do something useful. Because ChatGPT, for the most part, I would say for the first couple of weeks of people using it, it's a novelty. Like it's this really fun thing that I talk to the computer, it talks to me back, and it's it's scarily coherent, right? But I discovered that ChatGPT can help you write code. And actually, one subsection of the language model is the OpenAI created is called Codex, and basically it's trained in like 5 or 6 different coding languages, and I started learning about the stuff the developer is doing, and naturally, as a very eager user of my app as well, I actually want the developer to develop much faster than it could be humanly done. So I'm sitting there saying, should I learn how to code? But I can't. I'm too old to learn how to code at this point. But I started experimenting with having ChatGPT write some of the code for me for what I wanted to do. So I was describing to ChatGPT what the website looked like. This is a GL platform, like an accounting software. This is what it looks like, and this is what the HTML codes look like, and I want you to replace this box with that box and write this in JavaScript for me. And I would run it and then see if it worked to get to the point where, I was thinking I was giving my programmer, a heads up, and I started giving him some of this raw code, and he's in some cases he's like, Hector, I rewrote it, but if it wasn't for your code, I wouldn't know exactly what you wanted to do. So I was able to speak his language without even knowing one line of code by having ChatGPT write some sample code for me. So that was one of my adventures, one of my 3 a.m. in the morning type of adventures, playing with ChatGPT. But then I started thinking, in more tangible terms, what are the things that accountants can do now? Because that's not realistic that people are going to start, toying with code. And I was thinking one of the age-old issues that accountants have is, we have a bank statement from a client that has a bunch of transactions. Some of them we know what they are. Some of them we have no clue. And the solution right now to find an answer to that would be to copy and paste that into Google, and then triangulating, understanding, who the client is and who they serve and where they are and the type of stuff that they buy and sell, and the top 5 results of Google. And somehow that circle will help you with the context, give you an answer to what it is. Problem is, even though that's effective, it's very inefficient. It could take you 5 to 10 minutes to find what one $37 transaction is for, right? And you could choose to go a different route to go, you know what, I'm not going to go Google. I'm just going to ask the client. Problem is, every question you ask to your client, it's adding strain in the relationship, because the clients are hiring you to, quote, take care of it, not ask me about everything. Like most of my clients don't want them to be the micromanagers of my work. And if I ask them about every transaction, they're going to feel that way. So how can I use ChatGPT? So I started playing with the prompts in such a way to get ChatGPT to literally, for me, just to copy and paste a random description from a credit card and have ChatGPT come back and give me what the most likely answer is. And through some prompt engineering, we started getting to, okay, get me the website, get me the company name, get me what this company does, get me contextually why you think this, for this type of business, it would be this category, and then give me some alternative categories that are maybe not your first choice, maybe your second and your third choice. So all of a sudden, I can use a beautiful prompt to then just copy and paste one line and get a piece of information that I used to take me 3 to 4 minutes through Google. Now it takes me just only 1 minute. So through my app, what we're testing it is, can we just press a button inside of our accounting software when that transaction gets downloaded from the bank and it says DPI 36 Phoenix, right? And then I don't know what that is. All right, so to take that information and then search it within the context of what we told it this business does, and then go back and tell me what ChatGPT believes is the best possible answer. So that's our first attempt into integrating ChatGPT with accounting software. And so far, we're beta testing it, and we're very excited about the results. It's not perfect, nothing's perfect, but ChatGPT is also on its path to become better as well. What the part that I'm really, really looking forward to is ChatGPT just opened up like an app store, like a plugin store, and then they're allowing developers to plug into ChatGPT. So contextually, when it comes to talking to ChatGPT, there's two ways to interact with ChatGPT. One is your own software package can have an API key and then have information inside your software be sent to ChatGPT. ChatGPT process it and send you back an answer. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. That's with a regular API key. The description of what we were doing, it's an example of that. The next level of this is going to be now have your application talk to ChatGPT inside ChatGPT. So you're going to have companies like Expedia, for example. One of the examples I have, Expedia is going to have a plugin for ChatGPT. So you can write to ChatGPT and go, hey, I'm booking a Euro trip and I want you to find out hotel, car, places to stay, landmarks, restaurants. These are my dates. This is how many miles I want to drive between each city. And the thing will go boom, 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 and recommend you hotels, lowest prices, cars. You know, it's really impressive. Just the couple of samples that they have given us, and that's just one company, Expedia, talking to ChatGPT. So you start thinking deeply, deeply beyond every app developer, every software provider, every service provider that has a database of sorts can now use the full power of ChatGPT to process information within the narrow context that you're giving them through that plugin. And that's going to be key, because the challenge that we have with ChatGPT is the average of human intelligence, which is basically worth nothing, unfortunately, right? So because all the gold is at the edges, right? So ChatGPT is always going to give you a mathematical average of the most predictable thing you could come up with, and there's no way you're going to have new ideas if you're using ChatGPT for that, trying to use ChatGPT to build something new. So if you block the general knowledge database that ChatGPT has, and you give it just the narrow scope of the context of your own internal knowledge base of your business, and you choose and you use the power of ChatGPT to process that, that's going to be huge. I'll give you an example. Let's say I was able to plug my tax software and my tax database to ChatGPT. And again, we're assuming this is safe and all that stuff. That's a really important caveat. But and I were to ask ChatGPT, hey, which of my clients own a home? And boom, the ChatGPT could just go across the entire database and go, okay, all these people have, they're claiming, their home deduction or whatever. Or which of my clients have international income? And it would just it could just go through your entire database and scour it, and then just pick up the things that you want. And you could really make huge, important decisions, leaps and bounds of what you were able to do before, by being able to have quick information with technology like that.
So one of the things that I think is important on this is to know that it's still the human creativity behind it. I had it write an about us page for an accounting firm, and it came back with standard boring stuff. And I even sent it on to our colleague Tim Williams, who said, "Yeah, this is as crappy as everybody else's." This is so, now again, everybody says, "Well, there's an important start. At least it got you started." But in another example that I used, I said, okay, write an ad for an accounts payable program in the style of Dr. Seuss.
And it does it without hesitation.
It comes back in iambic pentameter, rhyming, all of this stuff. But that's, again, human creativity being plugged in. We've got about 3 minutes left in the segment. I want to ask you about the differences that you've seen between ChatGPT 3.5 and 4, because I know you've been working with both. So have you noticed anything appreciably different from one to the other?
Well, first of all, ChatGPT 4 brought one of our friends back from the dead, so that's good.
Yes, it did. It was very, very Lazarus come out moment.
Yeah. So for some context, I don't know if you guys have talked about this, but one person that we know, Doug Sleater, he's been in this show a couple of times.
He's on in a couple of weeks to talk about being dead and coming back from the grave.
Exactly. That's definitely an out of body AI experience for him. But I don't know exactly what they did, but the information it's a lot more accurate. And even me testing the same prompt that I was talking to you about finding categories for expense transactions and stuff like that. GPT-3 used to give me like 6 out of 10 unknown, like it couldn't figure it out. and now GPT-4 only like 3 out of 10 are unknown. So it's little by little, it's just getting better and better at discerning information. It's really interesting. They still haven't fixed the problem that this is one of the interesting things about ChatGPT is every word that ChatGPT drafts is a mathematical calculation predicting what the next word is going to be. And with ChatGPT 3.5, if you were to ask it a prompt, but then you say, hey, at the very beginning of the prompt, try to predict how many words it's going to be in this entire message. It used to be way off, like way off. It used to say, I could do this in 237 words, and it would do like 500, or it would do like 100. It would be way off. And then you would ask it, why were you so off? And it says, I don't know. But then on ChatGPT 4, I kept doing that, and it was only off by like 5 or 6 words, and I kept telling it, hey, that is off. And it was funny, we started with being 7 words off, and then 6 words off, and then 4 words off. Like, it's almost like it learns how to become better and better. And I see that with ChatGPT 4 make leaps and bounds with 3.5. The other piece that we haven't even seen yet, this has just been advertised, is that ChatGPT 4 is going to have what's called vision. So you're going to be able to upload images, and it'll be able to do things with images. But the one piece that's really impressed me is they're partnering with a company called Be My Eyes. And Be My Eyes was an app company that was created for people with vision impairment. And it has 6 million volunteers and like 500,000 vision impaired users. And essentially what it did is, if you're a vision impaired person, you turn on the phone, you take a picture of, or sometimes you can do sort of like real time, and basically you're asking, what is this? And then any volunteer, their phone would chime, and they would look at it and go, okay, that's a car, or that's a whiskey bottle, that's a whatever, right? So they were using basically a person looking at the screen to tell the vision impaired person what they're looking at. Now, Be My Eyes is working with ChatGPT. So guess what? I think that the users, the volunteers, are going to be able to train the AI on what they're looking at, because now you're going to have human verification for the things that are being looked at. And when the AI can interpret what they're looking at quicker than what the volunteer can, eventually you're going to have this combination of sometimes the AI giving you the answer, sometimes a person giving you the answer, or like we said at the beginning, the AI gives you an answer and the person confirms it. So I think that partnership and between the AI and the person that has judgment and discernment, that partnership is going to be what's going to make this successful. And ChatGPT 4 has introduced that concept, and they're going to do the same thing with audio. So be able to detect audio, detect music, and like Shazam can do this already, of course. But it'll be able to detect audio, detect music, and discern between voices. And, it's going to be really impressive.
Yeah, well, I've got so many questions to ask you, and I can't help but thinking, Hector, that had you had your technology out, back in 2014 or whatever, we wouldn't have this problem with Donald Trump, because it would have clearly classified the expense for Stormy Daniels correctly in his accounting system. So
that's true. That's true.
It's right. So that would have been really helpful. But we're up against our last break. Want to remind our listeners that you can contact Ron or me by sending an email to asktsoe@verasage.com. The website is The Soul of Enterprise, where you can see show notes, previews to upcoming shows, and what we've got on tap for you coming up. But right now, a word from our sponsor and my employer, Sage.
You are clear.
Yeah, I had to get that line in on the live show.
Last 20
I had
seconds,
to get that line in on the live show.
At my app's expense. I get it.
I think you run with that. I think you could totally run with that.
I think I can. I've been pretty negative. I have been pretty negative towards our beloved DJT in the past. So I don't want to get into politics anymore. There was last year when Trump lost, and I put a posting, I don't know what it was, something about Joe Biden building a blue wall across Canada or something. I forget what silly thing I said. One person texts me and goes, "You're a partisan hack. I can't believe that I followed you for so many years. I used to respect you. I used to, watch every one of your videos. I'm not going to watch your videos anymore." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I don't know what to tell you." And then the person started getting like really sort of like depressed, like, "Hey, what if I die tomorrow? Nobody would care." And like politics tends to do this weird thing, really weird thing. And I don't want to be, I'm not trained. I'm not trained to manage those situations. So I'm going to step out of politics.
You handled it correct. But I just had to make that joke. I think it's hysterical. But what I want to definitely ask you on the bonus show when we get there, is what do you think about this whole thing with the Elon Musk and others calling for putting the brakes on AI?
Yeah, coming back to him.
So anyway, we'll get there.
More about our show. Visit us on the web at thesoulofenterprise.com. You can also chat with us on Twitter using hashtag AskTSOE. Now, back to The Soul of Enterprise.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We're here with Hector Garcia. And Hector, you've been transitioning your firm to a subscription business model. What made you want to do it?
Well, hearing you guys talk about it for 4 or 5 years helped a little bit. Upon the release of your book, Ron, I think because I got to read it prior to release, I got to read the manuscript. You sent me that early on, and I got thinking about it pretty much deeply before it was released. And then during its release, I promoted it quite a bit. I told some people to read it, and some people were coming back to me. We have two reactions. One is, why do you recommend this? This is crazy. I don't understand this. This is like way off base. And the other people go, holy crap, where has this been all my life? And usually that combination of reactions is what confirms that this is a good thing. So a combination between you guys convincing me and a lot of my colleagues sort of confirming that there's a lot of gold in this concept made me realize that this is it. This is the time to do it. And I've been toying around with the idea of selling the tax part of my business, or at least bringing another accountant along to take over it. Like, just me no longer being the one that sits there and does 500 tax returns every tax season. But if I were to do that, which is a huge part of my business, unfortunately and fortunately, we build a business that is not siloed. Like, we don't have like the tax department or the bookkeeping department or the training department. Everything is everything, and the consultants and the tax people and the bookkeepers, they all have this magical way of adding value to each other in the process, and that has been the magic of my firm, really. But when we switched to when we started thinking about switching to subscriptions, one of the things I wanted to do is specialize, like really truly specialize. And I realized that with the speed of technology, apps, cloud, AI, it's going to be very difficult to be both great at the tech, like just be in the cutting edge of tech, and also being in the cutting edge of tax, because tax was boring for a very long time, and then the big tax change in 2017 came, and then all the COVID stuff came, and then it basically drove a wedge between my ability to be great at both. And as much as I love tax, I know a lot of people can do it, but I think that people like me that are not afraid of testing technology every single day, not afraid of being proved wrong about what I thought to be true every single day, to be my mind changed about how tech works. I think that I'm best positioned to be a tech leader and not a tax leader. So that basically drove me to saying, okay, this is going to be a two-part process. We're going to get rid of tax and super specialize in bookkeeping. But in order to be successful at that, we're going to switch to subscription. And then if we do this successfully, we're going to elevate all of our employees to basically run this whole subscription-based business. And as we talked about earlier, try to figure out ways to put them in a position so they can also grow the business and be lucrative proportionally to how we grow the business. So I think that it was necessary for me to get rid of that piece of the business to avoid the distractions and focus 100% on bookkeeping. So coming the next couple of months, our firm is going to be a subscription-based bookkeeping business that's going to be very, very in the forefront of tech, and it's going to bring all of our customers to the forefront of tech, and we're going to guide our clients and transform our clients through using the right tech for the right purposes. That's going to be what we're going to change and evolve into. And I think that the only way to do this with predictable revenue, it's going to be through the subscription-based model.
Wow, that's fascinating. So we talk about 3 ways to pivot, 3 different models: start a new firm, do a gradual pivot in the legacy firm, or do what Adobe did it sounds kind of like you're doing what Adobe did.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going from desktop to online, keeping the same brand, right? I'm going from the traditional firm model that was already transitioned into value pricing, which that's important to add in there, to subscription, but we're not essentially losing our customers. Now, when we talk to our clients, to all of our customers about this, and we tell them, hey, as of April 30th, whatever contract we had, whatever engagement we had, and we thought about this about a year ago. We stopped doing long-term contracts, and all of our clients are in just open contracts. We don't have anyone in so we have no obligation to anyone basically. So what our existing arrangement on April 30th ends, we are gonna come to you and we're gonna present to you a new thing. It's going to be us. It's still us. It's still the people that you love, the people that you learn how to trust. It's still Hector Garcia and his firm. It's still, the technology first people that you've worked with for so many years, but we're going to offer you a new service. The service, the end result might be the same. We still might just provide a balance sheet and a profit and loss. We still might be just that. However, we're going to approach it a little bit different. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to present to you with an option. And you're going to be able to have, we're going to have two tiers. This is our idea. We're going to have two tiers. We're going to have the core tier, which is just getting people compliant. This is for the ones that maybe don't want to change too much. They want to shake things up, but they're going to hop on the subscription. And then we're going to have the plus tier, which is the one that's, hey, we just do the whole thing. And there's going to be a huge gap between them. And the core tier is going to be very close to what they were paying before. We are going to bump, everybody's going to be bumped up, right? That way, because we do want people the opportunity to say no, because we actually need some people to say no. Like a part of this process, we do need to clean house a little bit, and we don't want it to be us that do it. We don't want to judge, okay, who's a good customer, who's a bad customer. We'll let the customer do it. Hey, if you didn't want to pay that little bump up, that means we screwed up. We didn't even know how to show enough value. So that little 10% increase or whatever wasn't there. But I think that small bump is important for the client to feel that it's different too, because it can't feel like the old thing repackaged into a new thing. It needs to feel like a new thing. Mm-hmm. And if it's the same price or lower, it's not going to have that effect. So even if it's, again, not a different thing, it just needs to feel different. And that's what that's one of the things that we're starting with. We're stepping with that idea first.
Yeah, you're plussing it. So Hector, this has been wonderful. I know we're going to talk more about this on the bonus show. So thank you for showing up today. I just wanted to mention, I can tell you guys this. I got this voice message from Debbie. She watched one of my podcasts somewhere on YouTube, and she said, be dying to talk to you about if this could apply to a product company. And so I called her up. I'm willing to talk to anybody. And we had this great conversation. Well, Debbie runs cookiemill.com. And as a result of that phone call, she sent me 2 boxes of cookies. Debbie is like the Frank Lloyd Wright of cookies. I mean, she's got pricing on purpose, implementing value pricing, times up, a bottle of Farniente. I mean, these cookies are pieces of art. She's got the soul of enterprise, crashing the timesheet. I mean, I was just absolutely blown away. This was like the experience economy on steroids. This was one of those. Wow!
We got to get you to take pictures so we can add it to the show notes.
I will. In fact, she said she's going to send me some pictures. Debbie, I know you're out there listening live. So again, I can't thank you enough for this. I just think these cookies are amazing. Ed, what do we have coming up next week?
Next week, Ron, we are going to talk to I think for the second or maybe even third time, Timothy Cho, who is a professor at Stanford. He will talk to us about his experiences with bringing AI to a very practical application in the medical profession.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. See you in 167 hours.
This has been The Soul of Enterprise, Business in the Knowledge Economy, sponsored by Sage, building experiences that connect, remove friction, and deliver insights. Join us next week on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, that's noon Pacific. In the meantime, please feel free to visit us at www.thesoulofenterprise.com.
You are clear, gentlemen.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
All right, great job, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
All right. Bye.
If you would have given me 30 more seconds, I would have plugged the Patreon group. I think that I should have been the one plugging it since I was one of the first members.
That's true. That's true.
But I was like, oh, this is a perfect, because I can say I can't believe Debbie out fangirled me on TSOE talking about being a fanboy. You should be part of the Patreon group. Like I had it. But yeah,
that's okay. No, we'll let you plug the new Times Up Club when it comes out. We're getting closer with that. So, but let's stop. I want to stop here and we'll pivot to the bonus episode. So just give me 1 second to start and stop. There we go. Just so much easier to do it that way, Hector. Start and stop it than it is to cut it. I know I could cut it up later.
2 separate files. No, but the rendering takes forever. Like for some reason, you can open a file that you can cut it. Yep. But then to save a smaller file takes forever. Yep. It's such a strange thing.
Hector, do you follow Accounting High?
Yes.
Scott Scarano.
Yeah. Well, you're the principal.
Well, he did the bracket challenge, and Jason's stats knocked me out in the first round. I mean,
well, you didn't do anything to promote yourself, man. I
didn't even know I was nominated.
Okay.
until Scott emailed me and said, "Hey, could you do a thank you promo for being nominated?" Well, I'm nominated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if you would have put a blurb in LinkedIn where you have a lot of followers there, you could have blown Jason's stats. Now, by the way, there's probably not a better person to lose against than Jason. Jason's like,
I've never met him, but I'm very impressed with what he's out there doing. I'm impressed with all these guys. Ryan, he's just getting started. I could see the writing, and I couldn't be happier. I told him, hey man, anything I could do to help you shine some light into that. I think you're doing all the right things. And he's funny, and he's got his own quirkiness. That's good. It's good what he's doing. Yeah. He needs to make these kids, he needs to make my kids watch a YouTube channel and go, accounting seems fun. Because like, I'll give you an example. My 7-year-old, he's hilarious. I hope you guys get to meet him one day. He's just really funny. I'm always listening to a podcast, and every time I get in the car and I forget that the Bluetooth is on, randomly the audio from the Bluetooth plugs to the car, and then a podcast shows up. And half the times it's you guys, by the way. So and for my 7-year-old, these things are so freaking boring, And then he would say something like, hey, change the accounting stuff for something else. And I turn around and go, how do you even know that's accounting stuff? And this is because it's boring. So like if a whole generation of people think accounting is boring, and I know that's existed forever, but isn't now the opportunity to change that point of view? Because accounting class is boring, but what accountants do, especially what we did with PPP loans in the pandemic, it's the opposite of boring. Like, we saved people, man. We got people out of bankruptcy. So like we were, in many ways, we were sort of the financial heroes of COVID. That's an unsung story that got forgotten pretty quick. And there needs to be at least some level of excitement for that. But you know what? If it doesn't go on an app, or it's not a 1-minute YouTube short, it's not something they're gonna see as fun.
It's really hard to get those nuanced concepts across. I mean,
yeah. Somebody would have to make a movie or a series about maybe CPA, COVID CPA or something, and and really illustrate how you're right. We save people.
No, I think we have to gaslight them. I think we don't call ourselves accountants. We don't call ourselves CPA. We're just the guy that does this. And then at the end go, by the way, you know what you just saw? It was accounting all along. Like it kind of has to be like that.
Yeah.
We got a kind of a bad brand right now at the moment.
Financial first responders.
Yeah. Well, did you hear the podcast I did with Blake, where at the end I was telling him what ChatGPT told me, about Disney getting into the accounting profession?
Yes, that was great.
Man, it had some really interesting answers, man. Did you hear that, Ed, or no?
Yes, that was a fantastic.
I didn't hear that one.
You asked it, or
I'm gonna find it.
How would you change the language? What would you call your
employees, your customers?
Dream makers.
Yeah, dream builders.
Dream builders. What a great, made me think of Crispin Porter, the great advertising firm. They don't have ad agents. They have cultural anthropologists.
Yeah.
Right.
Next level, man. Next level.
I always wanted to call salespeople in technology value investigators. Like what's your job? I'm a value investigator. And have like a badge, Yeah. Ed Kless, value investigator.
There was a couple more, Ed, just for context. So, what would Disney call their employees in a Disney-fied accounting firm? So, financial storytellers, financial alchemist, and some of the bad guys were actually funny. So I asked ChatGPT, hey, if accounting and the challenges that small business owners have with their businesses were personified as a Disney character, what would you, as a Disney villain, what would you call it? So we had the time thief. This business villain might be represented by a mischievous and elusive character who's always stealing precious time and resources from small business owners. The character could be named Time Thief, and it could be portrayed by a tricky and impenetrable force that small business owners must learn how to outsmart and outmaneuver in order to stay ahead. The budget bandit, the tech terror, the compliance creature, the marketing monster, the HR hydra, competition Cruella, regulation robot, Taxosaurus Rex, cash flow crunch. Man, it was just so cool to get to have ChatGPT help me prep for that show.
HR Hydra is excellent.
HR Hydra
and the budget bandit. That's good. That's clever. Wow, man. Hector, your story about the lawyers, going to one and saying this is from ChatGPT, and the other one, this is a standard thing I pulled off the internet. I think we talked about this, Ed, because it disappeared from my stack, but Bartleby actually wrote about this in The Economist. This ChatGPT is going to open up a whole slew of sociological research based on people's reaction to it. Are they going to trust it? What type of level of trust are they going to put into something that they know is AI generated versus human generated? They're already starting to run some fascinating experiments on that. Of course, they won't be able to be replicated, but
right, of course.
Well, but this is
something to that.
Yeah. I mean, but this goes back to, I think, one of the most interesting philosophical conundrums, and that is what do you do with AI, and when it gets better overall at flying planes or driving cars than humans, it's going to get to that point,
correct,
where it's going to be better than humans at doing this. It's going to be. I don't know. Maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 50 years, but it is going to be at that point. Do we turn over the entirety of a plane to AI, which would not have the creativity that Captain Sullenberger did to try to land the plane in the Hudson?
Yep. Yeah.
I
think right now there's 2 pilots in every plane. Okay. And I think the best answer to this is we'll go from 2 to 1. So I don't think AI taking over our jobs is this weird psychological issue that we're having, where people are just like, you asked me, Ron, we didn't get to it. Elon Musk and the 30 smartest people in AI, having this open letter saying that we must stop it. Right. Well, first of all, they know that this is not going to happen. It can't be stopped. They know that. I mean, Elon Musk was told to stop doing driverless cars. Did he stop? No. So no, absolutely not. So this is them. What I think this is them trying to have basically history, right? So where they can go back and go, see, I told you so. I think this is just a CYA for a future I told you so type of situation. But there is some truth to this, like ChatGPT will have, or just AI is going to have fundamental transformations in our society, but in the same way that the cars had, the same way the airplanes had, the same way the computers had, and the internet. I mean, every generation is afraid of the next transformation.
Yeah. Well, and I want to bring Greg in to this, because I think he's got a lot of good, interesting stuff on this too. So Greg, come on and join us. Yeah, nope, you don't. Yes, you do. Stop.
I got nothing on this.
Yeah, you got nothing on this bullshit. But
yeah, you know you're using ChatGPT for your marketing stuff, Greg. It's happening. It's happening.
He's writing. You wrote code too with it, Greg, didn't you?
Yeah,
or had it write some code?
Hector, I write CSS code with it when I'm stuck and I'm trying to figure out how to get something to be pixel perfect on the screen. Did I tell Ron and Ed? Did I tell the story about the theology school and the Facebook advertising campaign that we're running?
You told me with Heather.
I did with Heather. Okay, so we're running an advertising campaign for one of the biggest theology schools in the country. You know, they compete with like an SMU or a Yale or a Duke, right? And you can't target religion on Facebook. That capability was taken away years ago, along with the ability to directly target politics. So Hector, as you've noticed, right, you feed information into GPT as best you can. And what it spit back out for me was a very specific set of recommendations on how to target adjacent interests to those who might be also interested in a Masters of Divinity program. It wasn't generally speaking, it was go into the Facebook advertising system and find these capabilities inside of this section.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that piece of information is in there too. One philosophical discussion that hasn't been brought up too often is we know it's been trained, we know how it's been trained, and we know at this point mathematically how it works, but we don't know who picked and chose what information got put in there during the training, right? And we know that it's possible that some information was left out, but maybe nothing was left out, and they're only gating it to the user to not be able to use it. So like that's an interesting point. So like if you ask him a Trump versus Biden question, it can give you very generic stuff. But when you get into like policy and stuff like that, most of like each person's policy is gonna fall into the stuff that ChatGPT won't let you talk about. So the big question here is was that information not fed into ChatGPT? Like was it left out? Or is it just being gated from the user? So do the masters of ChatGPT, have any control over the information that comes out essentially because they changed the input? We know they can gate the output, but did they change the input?
There's been some descriptions about how it comes up with semi-racist comments or something like that. And to me, this should not be surprising. Right, because the inputs, are reflecting humanity, right? So the fact that it's holding up a mirror in front of us and saying, this is where I came from. But I just want to close the loop on the whole Elon Musk and the guys saying, hey, listen, we think we should shut this down for a while, Steve Wozniak. Here's my biggest problem with that, guys. You think China's going to do that and say, you know what? Let's put the brakes on this. Why don't we put the brakes on our AI since the US and their folks have decided to put the brakes on this AI ChatGPT thing, we think that's probably a good idea too. So
this is the biggest level of techno panic I have witnessed in my life from some of the biggest influencers in the technology space.
Yes.
Bingo. Amen. Yes. Absolutely. That thing that somebody, I don't know if you posted it, Hector, or something. I've seen it now 4 times about which jobs are at stake, 100%. Yeah. That's it reminded me of that Oxford study that has been completely discredited. Remember that about AI taking over jobs, and the accountants were way up on that list. And it's like, no, humans are going to always figure out how to serve one another.
I think part of the challenge is we can both look at the same article, the New York Times article, the Wall Street Journal article, that said that accountants and the functions that accountants do are the most exposed, and we can interpret it differently. Some people might say, hey, this article is fear-mongering, saying it will take your job. Or somebody, like the way I see it is, this article is it's a friendly reminder that at some point, the stuff that you thought was very valuable to the customer for you to do manually for 10 days until you can get a result will be replaced by a software system that can do it quicker, and you're going to have to transform in what is the new thing that you're going to do. And does that mean you have to learn how to code AI? No, but it does mean that you have to learn how to coexist and live with it. So I think that's the part of the challenge is we're using the wrong verbiage because we think that the fear mongering is what's going to get people to go, oh yeah, let me jump all in on ChatGPT. I think it's actually causing the opposite. Most people are saying, you know what? I don't want to be complacent to the debacle of my industry, so I'm not even going to even look at it. So I think that's part of the problem is that we're not using the right wording. Look, AI is just software. Like, why is AI scary and software is not?
Right.
I think AI has a PR problem. I mean, it's got both a PR problem and it's also sort of a marketing gimmick because so many of these companies, just add .ai to the website, and then all of a sudden it's AI, and you find out that it's just a bunch of people in the Philippines in the background doing things, making it look like it's AI. And this is real. This has happened. It happened. Yeah. It happened with one of the receipt capture systems. It happened with BotKeeper. It happened. All these companies that say, "Hey, it's AI," but it's really just a bunch of humans, really cheap, that can do it really fast. So I think we got to figure out how to change the wording from AI to it's just software, because no one's afraid of software. Nobody's ever said software is going to take over your jobs. It's one of these weird things.
No, people did. You're not old enough to remember that. People that absolutely did.
Andreessen, software will eat the world.
Software will eat the world. But this is really, when you think about it, any accounts payable program that prints a check is a bot.
Yeah.
Or doesn't debit and credit.
It's a robot. It is literally a robot. It prints the check. Right. All right. Now it sends it via ACH or whatever. It's all code is bots. That's what it is.
There's a word that I've been hearing a lot, and I think I maybe heard it once in my lifetime when I was in college, which is and you guys know this, anthropomorphization. Anthropomorphism, okay? And I think that whatever that is.
Whatever that means.
Good thing I didn't attempt to say it during the live show, but I think that because it's so easy to anthropomorphize.
Yeah, very good, Hector.
Yeah. It's so easy to do that with AI.
Yes.
Just because it feels it has more human-like quantities. This is why it's scary.
We do it with animals. Disney did it with animals. He made the three little pigs human, gave them emotions, gave them expressions on their, the wide eyes and all. That's all of that.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I have a question for you guys, and Greg, you too, because I think you're a fan of like sci-fi movies and stuff like that. Do movies predict the future, or do movies shape the future?
Wow. That's a deep question, Heather. This is just the TSOE bonus episode.
Yeah, that's right. That's
so a little bit of both, but certainly the creativity and the imagination that filmmakers bring forward to their work likely has a lot to do with shaping the future.
Well, so if you believe it shapes the future, then The Matrix and Terminator will scare you shitless. Okay.
Yeah, but Star Trek won't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point. That there's stuff out there that is the holograph and holodeck or whatever, all of these things that are positives, and now we've outpaced some things that were in Star Trek. My favorite example of this, Hector, you may have heard me say this, but I actually pointed this out to Tim Cho when I met with him, and he really liked this. We watched the original Star Trek movie, Episode 4, A New Hope, right? And there's this the great cantina scene, and where they go to this bar to arrange the transportation for Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Millennium Falcon and whatever it is, parsecs, the Kessel Run or whatever that is, right? So they had this amazing technology to go faster than the speed of light, but they didn't have Uber.
Yeah,
they call up a cab.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like.
That's the point. Yeah.
They couldn't fire it up on the app and say, like, I need a pickup.
Right.
It's a great question, Hector. I don't know if it predicts the future, because I'm Gilder on that. Nobody can predict the future. Creativity always takes us by surprise. But what I think it can do is inspire creative people to shape that future or build that future. You think about some of the advertising that's done. Those guys can recall movies or books they read, and that shapes their work. So movies have a huge cultural impact. I mean,
but that's the PR point that we have then, because no AI movie ends with "an AI made humanity better." The end. You know?
Most of them are dystopian. I agree.
Right.
I'm fascinated. I mean, I'm not a sci-fi guy, but are there any sci-fis out there that aren't dystopian?
Star Trek is not dystopian.
Okay.
Wow.
I agree. It's got what do they call that thing? That can produce the food and everything.
The replicator. I mean, you know, Gene Roddenberry was very big on being positive about the future. They're also in a world of literally abundance.
Abundance. Okay.
Where you can manufacture out of nothing a cup of Earl Grey tea at the exact temperature that you want it.
Where the doctor people can scan you and cure you, right?
Where people get paid based on their contribution to society.
Right.
And the amount of knowledge or work that they've dedicated to bettering society. Like that's far from dystopian. Isaac Asimov, a lot of his work is not dystopian. Although,
okay.
Right. I'm currently reading the Expanse series, not dystopian, although it's weird. Right?
Moon is a harsh mistress is not dystopian.
Okay.
Yeah. But we like the dystopian stuff. You know,
we do. Sure. We like.
One of the challenges that we're having, and is connected to this issue with how we pick and choose the AI movies that are going to shape the future or predict the future, whatever, is a lot of these accountants, when they're starting to play with ChatGPT, the only thing they could point out is what it did wrong. To go, yeah, look, it got the wrong tax section, it got the wrong code section. Or look, it got the wrong threshold amount. Or look, it added instead of multiplying. So everybody wants to shine a light on what's broken about it, and it's sort of that confirmation bias that professionals want to have, where they want to be able to confirm that, you know, I don't need to learn something new, you know, that I can go through retirement without learning something new, like Ed's story with the guy that had to learn how to do something with the computer to transfer inventory or whatever it was.
Frank.
It's the same element, right? So the professionals are looking for those proofs, or that proof that this thing is broken or it can't get there. And it's happening already with my friends in the accounting profession, where they go, yeah, I asked it how to do this and I got it totally wrong, because like you as a human being get it totally right all the time.
You're flawless. Yeah. You're flawless.
Or if you're Doug Sleater, it did tell you he was dead. So I was like, well, give Doug a little slack. By the way, I connected. I have my call with my mentor Howard every Friday, and I got the new version of Skype, which now includes a Bing chat bot in it. When I did, so I was like, okay. So I'm like, all right, might as well do this. So I said, who is Doug Sleater? And it did tell me that he was alive. And then I said, and I specifically said, is he still alive? And he said, I'm sorry, I couldn't find any more information about Doug Sleater's current status. However, he was active in 2022. Footnote, his appearance on the Soul of Enterprise.
Nice. You guys are proof of life. In a kidnapping situation, you guys are proof of life. There you go.
Wow. And back on the difference between 3.5 and 4.0, I just listened to this yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind. But Alex Epstein, who wrote the book Fossil Future, Hector, big energy proponent, thinks we need more fossil fuels in the future, not less, for human flourishing. He when he typed in, give me the best arguments for fossil fuel use, to 3.5, came back and said, fossil fuels cause the existential crisis of global warming. I can't answer this question. 4.0 comes back, does give you arguments. Alex says they're weak for fossil fuel, but then still puts in a disclaimer: the above causes existential climate change. So is that the programmers?
Yes.
It's got to be.
Yeah. The programmers, definitely 4 brings more nuance into the answers. Talking about fossil fuels, I was just in LA, and California is a special place, I gotta tell you. I was just in LA, and my son pointed it out. There was we went through a street that had a bunch of homeless tents, a bunch of tents of homeless people, and one tent had a solar panel. so I don't know what I was
trying to raise his ESG score.
I have no idea what I was looking at, but I was fascinated and I could not get over that thing. Like, I'm like, what is happening here? He was probably just charging his phone or something, which is
yeah. We won't build houses for him, but we'll give him a $20,000 solar panel so they can recharge their phone.
I'll send you the picture. It's real. Like, I'm not making this up.
Oh no, I believe it. I believe it. That's hysterical. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
crazy stuff.
So Hector, I was fascinated with all of your comments today on the live show about ChatGPT, of course, and you reminded me of something. You were talking about the new application plugins that OpenAI has developed, and I remember very distinctly an experience. We all remember we have one or two or maybe three of these in our lives. This experience that is very personal, very eye-opening, and changes our attitude or perception around something. Many of us recently have had one such experience related to ChatGPT. So I had to do a little bit of research for this. In 2007, a company called SRI spun off an organization called Siri, and they raised about $25 million in funding. And then Apple came along in 2011 and they acquired Siri. So I was a user of Siri before Apple acquired them. Not for long. They weren't in the public market for very long, about 3 months. And at the time, you could take your OpenTable login, plug it into Siri, and then you could say to Siri, book a table for me at such and such sushi restaurant on this day at this time, and Siri would do it. In 2011, and that was eye-opening to me. Now, the sad part about that is that today in 2023, Siri can't do that.
There's actually, so I can send you a video on that. Someone figured out how to add API key, your API key from ChatGPT into like a little macro with Siri.
Yes.
So when you ask Siri a question, it actually asks ChatGPT.
I saw that. Yep.
With Siri's voice as the answer, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. But that was an example. Like I think back in time, like that was a moment in time for me in which I went, oh, this is cool. This is going to change things. And of course, we have a bunch of voice powered assistants, behind it to sort of back up what I had experienced. And today, I feel like we have that same level of excitement, interest, and relative innovation around these generative AI tools, ChatGPT being the most prominent one. I don't remember another moment in time over the last, I don't know, call it 5 or 6 years in which people have been so excited or interested. And I'll make this comparison only because for me, it feels apt. I remember hearing and doing a ton of research about the blockchain. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, okay, I want this to be big. I know this is a huge technology. I know there are massive implications for what's happening here, but I didn't see the same level of consumer excitement, unless you're talking about Bitcoin specifically. I didn't see the same level of consumer excitement around it, hence the lack today of investment from the VC world. Now, things change on a dime, and we could turn against our AI overlords in a heartbeat, and then the next technology comes along. But I do feel strongly that today we are seeing a level of interest that in a new technology that we've not seen in a long time.
So
I was just go ahead.
No.
I would say the barrier of entry to get into cryptocurrency was to invest money, and the barrier of entry on this one is just to log in and play with it. Yeah. So I think that may have some effect, at least on the end user acceptance of it.
Yeah, but I also think that this is Greg. This has been around a lot longer than the last couple of months. This is a culmination and come to fruition. But I remember sitting in the computer lab running a basic program called Eliza. That was I don't know if you remember this.
Loved
right?
Eliza.
It was meant to be your therapist, right? And you would type in, "I'm feeling sad, Eliza. Tell me more about why you're feeling sad." Like it was basically that's all it would do, right? It would go, and then if you tried to say stuff to it, there were guardrails on it. It would tell you, you can't use that language with me, and all kinds of stuff like that. But so I think what it is, Greg, is it's quickly adopted ChatGPT, but the concept of language and AI, man, that's old for a while. Ron, I want you to tell these guys about Tyler Cowen's latest podcast.
Yeah. Tyler Cowen, who we've had on the show, the great economist, who asks great questions. He just grills his guests, but they're great questions. He did a show with, it was Jonathan Swift, right, Ed?
Yeah, Jonathan Swift.
Jonathan GPT Swift. So he asked, because he's really familiar with the guy's work, he asked these they were great questions. They really were. And all the answers were GPT generated, and he had somebody else read it in, like a Jonathan voice, or
he had an Irish accent.
Yeah. And it was a 45-minute show, and it was frigging phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I mean, the answers were, maybe 5 or 6 paragraphs, Ed, and they were well written. They did minor editing. He disclaims all this at the front, about minor editing, took out redundancies, things like that. But so I want to do the same thing on this show with.
So ready? No, Peter, I'll give you. I will give you the first answer. But I'll read you the answer. So this is what I put in. As Peter Drucker, respond to the following question: which is more important for a business to focus on, efficiency or effectiveness? As I said, efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing right things, and it puts that in quotes.
Which is wrong.
Well, okay. In other words, both efficiency and effectiveness are important for a business to focus on, but effectiveness should come first. Efficiency is about improving business processing and minimizing waste, which can lead to cost savings and increased productivity. However, if a business is focused solely on efficiency, it can become too inward-looking and lose sight of its overall goal and purpose. In contrast, effectiveness is about achieving the desired outcomes and results for business, which requires a clear understanding of the organization's mission and strategy. Therefore, a business should focus on effectiveness, ensuring that it is pursuing the right goals and objectives that align with its mission and strategy. Once the business has established these priorities, it can then focus on improving efficiency to achieve those goals more effectively. Damn!
Sounds like the perfect forward to one of Ron Baker's books.
It's a great answer. I mean, it needs to be more nuanced, but it is.
Right. It's slightly repetitive.
Yeah. The thing that gets me about that is somebody who's steeped in Drucker. If I had never heard of Drucker and I asked that question or came across that question, that would make me want to go read him. And then when you read him, you pick up all the little nuances.
That's great too.
So
it's really it just got started. We're only looking at the small piece that has been exposed to us. I mean, once you get audio and video in it, I mean, it's just gonna be an incredible game changer. Like I could only imagine, like for example, like tax software. I'm just thinking about tax software. Tax software can read structured data that's in PDF. So it can read a W-2, it can read a 1099 because it's structured. It knows more or less where to look for stuff. But as a tax preparer, I could tell you, people many times send a bunch of random stuff, in the portal. Right? They send a bunch of things that are not only structured data. It could be like this random little spreadsheet, and it could be a handwritten note, and it could be a Post-it note on top of the paper saying, "Hector, remember, this is when I bought the car," or a receipt. Like we get a bundle of information. So if a ChatGPT could go through it, organize it, and discern it. So once I get in there, at least they're already into folders and it's already 95% accurate. That would save us so much time. And that's not AI taking over our profession. That's, again, allowing us to spend more time to do the high quality stuff. And
no, Hector, it's going to give you far more time to get more customers. More customers. That's what you need to do. Bring on more customers.
Boy, and if this, Blake made an interesting point about this too, which is so true, but we've been making this point forever with technology. But, if this isn't the death knell of the timesheet, I don't know what is.
Exactly.
How do you charge GPT by the hour,
Well,
maybe we start charging by the token.
But
API
Tom
tokens.
Hood told that story 5 years ago about that audit, that non-structured data, and Hector, and I don't know if you got a chance. I did send you that one link on what Sage is doing with regard to AI, mostly at the Sage Intact level. But Aaron Harris, our CTO, has been talking about the concept of continuous audit and having an audit bot that is going to constantly monitor your transactions and kick out stuff that says, "Hey, this one looks kind of funky. You might want to take a look at it."
Yeah. Wow.
And that's something you could build into your stuff as well. Is like go through these transactions in this company. Compared to, and this is what your point earlier, which was brilliant, about it as look not only at this company for an anomaly, but look at the fact that across all of my customers' data, what seems funky. And I mean, if you think about this from a Sage Intact perspective, well, we're multi-tenant already. We have all this. It's all one database. It's all one big freaking database ultimately.
Yeah, I have a current conundrum, and it's one that has been hunting me a lot. Whereas, I want to be cutting edge. I want to be one step ahead. I want to be on it, and I know I have gold sitting in my Gmail account from 15 years of interacting with customers. Okay, I think I could. What do they call when the human being and the computers merge?
The singularity.
Yeah, I think I can achieve singularity, pass away, and then just with my email conversations with my clients, I could continue to advise people for a very long time.
Yeah.
But my question is
the emulated Hector. They're called M's. Have you seen that?
Right.
That's the term.
Chris Doe is building a Doebot. And I was chatting. I was able to have dinner with him, and we're talking about it. He's building a Doebot, and basically he's having a company go through all his videos and all this stuff and build a narrow set of context to everything that he has said. And he's gonna have people from his network that they pay $100 or $200 be able to ask the Doebot questions and get the AI version of Chris Doe's answers. Like, so you're gonna have a Doe mentor, virtual Chris Doe mentor. And you know what? You guys can do that. I mean, like if you also take the Soul of Enterprise and you grab, let's say you take all the guest shows out of the way, right? So at least let's not throw any noise in this, right? Only the conversations that you guys have had from day one, and you separate them, and you have, this is how Ed reacts to this type of things, this is how Ron reacts to these things. I think you can build an episode of TSOE that's just virtual. I think you guys should replicate the Tyler Cohen thing. I think you should just figure out a way to feed it the information and then say, hey, this is the current event that we want to talk about. Build the entire script for me. I think you will be very impressed on how well it does it, because you can tell ChatGPT now, hey, we have 2 people interviewing, and pick 2 dead people. I don't know, Karl Marx and George Washington, and say, set up a 30-minute interview if these 2 guys were talking to each other about bagels. This freaking thing will just create this incredible conversation that will blow your mind. I had it. We had somebody write a Seinfeld episode. Right, so I'm like, okay, Seinfeld episode. Okay, a Seinfeld episode about the current politics, and the whole thing went. And then Kramer walked in and said, "Well, how about that Trump?" And then George came in and said this, and it blows your mind. It blows your mind, the stuff that it can do. Wow. But my conundrum is, do I open my email to ChatGPT? I don't know if I can trust it, because I have so much sensitive information to it. But I know that if I did, I would unlock so many capabilities, so many possibilities. Whereas I could even have ChatGPT, like every question that my client gets, I can have ChatGPT give an immediate answer that says, this is the Hector bot answer, right? And Hector will read the email within a couple of days and confirm if the answer is good or not, or add to it. And that's going to give people immediate stuff. So they're like, okay, if it's fully disclosed, I think customers will be totally for it. So I'm also thinking, in this world of subscription, I think I want to bring this concept into the mix. I want I want to figure out how to answer those bookkeeping and QuickBooks questions, because you can ask ChatGPT to help you how to solve a problem in QuickBooks, and the freaking thing will tell you step by step what page to, just like the Facebook thing, what button to click on, what sub option to change, go this, go there, and after this, check changes, check your balance sheet. I mean, the thing is pretty amazing, accurate. So it would be pretty interesting if I could do this Dobot thing, because that's inspiring me too.
Well,
Talking about passing exams, when ChatGPT 5 advertises that it can pass the CPA exam, our industry is going to shit their pants. Okay, like we heard about the bar exam, but and I'm sure that had shocking waves through the attorneys, but accountants won't. Oh my God, I'm get the popcorn ready. It's gonna be.
Oh yeah, no, they're gonna
amazing.
Yeah,
it's gonna be amazing.
Agreed.
So they're going to freak out when it passes the CPA exam, Hector.
Yeah,
But here's the thing that I think the CPA exam is closed, right? It can't take it.
Yeah,
can the bar?
How's the bar exam open? I don't know how the bar
exam is, for whatever reason, it's more open.
No, dude, the CPA exam is for real. You get in there and it's like airport security. You got to take off belt. You have to take off your shoes. I mean, you wear your shoes.
Did you do it on computer, Hector?
Yeah, you
did. Okay, we had proctors walking around. There was,
Oh, so the way it is, it's a bunch of computers with dividers, but there's cameras on each of the test takers.
Right.
And you ask permission to go to the bathroom, and you can go to the bathroom, but once you can't, your cell phone or whatever you brought in, you put it on a little locker. And you can't go and access the locker in your bathroom break. So I can't go really quick and go, okay, let me look up this answer. Unless I tape the cell phone under the toilet or something, premeditated, did something like this. But it's really tight. It's really tight. It's very hard to cheat.
And a couple things. One, have you ever heard the story from Greg Kite about him having to go to the bathroom on the first day of the exam?
No.
And apparently he's in this huge building. I don't know where the hell he took the exam, but he's in this huge building. It took him like 10 minutes just to walk to the John and he's losing test time. Second day, he says, well, I'm going to wear an adult diaper so this doesn't happen again. I can't afford to take 10, 20 minutes out of it. And he doesn't have to go the second day. So after the test, he said, I'll go in the bathroom and get rid of the diaper. And there's all these people in the bathroom, from being in the test. And it's an hysterical story. I think he told it on.
So he wasn't the only one who did this?
No. He just felt embarrassed about how do I pull off his diaper in the bathroom with all these guys standing around waiting for everything.
Yeah, fourth time.
It's hysterical.
Fourth time, get colon cleansing and fast before the exam.
And the other thing is, I don't know how. I've read that they do not make the exam available after people take it. In my day, the test they came in each part had its own little booklet,
like the wrong answer, so what the wrong answers are.
Well, no, it just had the questions. It was the test we took. They would make those available, and all the accounting professors would sit in their office and crank out the answer.
Yep.
And then distribute it to the students. And so, because it was so fresh in your mind, you were like, oh, did I screw that one up? Or I got that one. And now I guess they don't do that. So how do the review courses get a hold of the tests these days?
Oh, they discontinue questions. So like the NASBA or whatever, whoever puts the questions together, every year they basically displace a bunch of questions and they say, okay, this is not in our bank anymore. And they work off those.
Okay.
That's how they explained it on my test prep. I use Kaplan. I think Kaplan was called. Whatever it's called. Yeah.
Wow.
It was $2,000 for those books. It's freaking expensive.
The review courses are. Yeah, they're like Becker. I don't know what Becker charges these days, but it was a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah, there's also an industrial complex around test taking materials. If you think about that, so if there was a lobby, trying to keep the CPA exam alive, it would definitely be those people.
Yeah, John Wiley's got books on self review. and they're expensive as hell. So yeah.
And my partner Alejandro, which I think you've met, Ron, Ed, you met, you met Alexander, who was in Texas.
Oh, okay. Yep.
But Alejandro, I have two partners with the same name in different languages, Alexander and Alejandro. Alejandro's already passed three out of four, but he's failed maybe 3 or 4 times the exam, and he's used Wiley and Becker, and he's like, dude, at the end they're all the same, man. They all use the same old bank of questions. They have different approaches. It's a lot of the CPA exam is having to memorize stuff, and he's a brilliant accountant. It's the pass fail is not a reflection of how good he is. It's just
the pass fail. Really, the exam doesn't test what matters.
No,
is he struggling with audit?
No, actually, audit was the easy one for him because he was an auditor in Deloitte, so it helped a little bit.
Okay.
I failed audit twice. That's the only one I failed.
I failed audit.
I failed audit twice.
I failed it once, but it was because in college it's very theoretical. You have no idea what it's talking about when you look at it on the test exam. You have to get real world experience. That's where I think the 150-hour thing is just a joke. Because
I remember when I was working for the CPA firm out of college, I was in their technology group or whatever. They would bring in the fresh crop of new accountants who had just gotten, and this was a small firm on Long Island, mid-sized firm. So did we have an audit or two? Yeah, I think we did, but it was mostly. Really, when I thinking back on it, it was mostly tax and bookkeeping is really what it was.
Right.
And they had to give these accountants, these accounting graduates, a crash course on bookkeeping because they had no freaking clue how a company actually did stuff.
Yeah. No, Hector, I still think that's pretty typical today. I know they use QuickBooks in some colleges, but I think some don't.
Not really. I've gone to my alma mater, to the school I went to, FIU, and getting them to teach QuickBooks, it's like pulling hair. And I've told them, I'll come in and do it for free. Like I'll hijack one of your current, accounting technology classes, the AIS or whatever it's called, where you guys are teaching like an 8-year ago version of SAP. Don't get me started on why in the world we were learning that. And not even like the interface version. Like this is like the command prompt version of SAP that we're teaching when I was in school. And I went to my professor and I said, and this is what I was getting my master's in tax, and I was already sort of a QuickBooks guy. I said, hey, dude, can one day we can teach like a QuickBooks class? Like I can show you a video. I know what I'm talking about. Can we just not teach this weird SAP thing that nobody's going to use? He's like, well, yeah, but all the jobs that are for accountants are typically Big Four, and Big Four uses SAP. I'm like, I don't know anything about SAP, but I really doubt that Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola are using this command prompt thing to do accounting. It just makes no sense. It has such a disconnection to the real world. And so not that many schools are using QuickBooks, not that many. And the ones that are using QuickBooks Desktop, not even online. So it's like, oh God, these people.
Yeah, I have a question for you guys. We talk about or think about how ChatGPT might affect Google. How do you guys think it'll affect Apple? Is it a threat?
Apple's an interesting one because they, generally speaking, do not allow their employees to what we would say, build their own personal brands, publish the work that they're doing, talk about the work that they do internally. In fact, there are a lot of agreements in place that disallow Apple employees from speaking about the work they did at Apple, even after they leave Apple, right? And in order to attract researchers, specifically artificial intelligence researchers,
they demand that they're able to publish.
They had to open up their policy a little bit. So we know that Apple hires some of the best AI researchers in the world. We just don't have a lot of proof that they use it. I mean, Siri sucks. It's horrible. It's like, and I say this to my wife. You need the context here, unless you think you're going to think I'm a real jerk, and I'm not. My wife substitute teaches regularly in the special education department at the local high school, and so I often refer to Siri as my special needs assistant. Like, it's just awful, right? And so but Apple does a lot of work in the AI space with photos. You could go into your phone and like type in dog.
Oh, it's amazing. The photo search is amazing.
Yeah, and that so you've got that, and you've got a couple of other glimmers of hope inside of the Apple organization. Are they building search? Are they building a car? Are they building goggles or glasses or some kind of VR product? I don't know. Will AI have an impact on that? It should. Spotlight search on the Mac isn't very good. I don't know, Ron. Right now, I'm not. Apple hires. I mean, they hired Jen Andrea from Google, who was like the head of AI research. Like they poached him, and this was only 3 months ago. But I just don't see a lot coming out of the black hole that is Apple. Hector?
I agree with you 100%. I think that Apple has the cash to just wait for someone to build something and buy it. I think maybe that's why they're not panicking. I would say that if you are like an AI programmer, software builder right now, I think that's the golden opportunity. Not like try to create an app that talks to GPT or whatever. Build something that Apple that works nicely and pretty and intuitively in your Apple device that uses AI, where Apple could just pick it up. I mean, that's going to be the biggest payday. I don't know what's happening inside Apple, but I think that they don't need to panic. Whereas Microsoft is a different story, because yes, Microsoft can buy technologies and all that stuff, but the problem is that Google has been eating Microsoft's lunch with Google Workspace and with search. So Microsoft move to get into the GPT world was masterful. I think David Leary was I don't know who was it, David Leary, or was it Jason Statt? Somebody mentioned that one of the accountants that in their network was saying, "Hey, I'm going to ditch Carbon or whatever whatever high tech practice management system they were using. I'm just going to go back to like old school Office, because now I can have AI interact across my email and my image depository and my shared file image depository and my Outlook attachments and my Word documents and my Excel." So if you think about, like this concept of being able to quickly search and find something that's specific to a customer or adjacent to a customer, because sometimes we'll have like a weird case, like I'll have a weird Section 1031 exchange case, and there's like, this looks a lot like
this guy.
I don't remember who, but from 3 years ago. Yeah. So, could I go somewhere and search, hey, who did a Section 1031 exchange for more than $1 million where I had a $50,000 boot, and boom, the thing finds the client to the return for you. That would be super cool. And it looks like Microsoft with this autopilot stuff or Copilot stuff, it's starting to show that, whereas Google's AI into the workspace, it's looking like the autocomplete stuff that's already been done before. Like if you look at the two promo videos, like if you actually look for Workspace AI and Copilot AI, the Microsoft one just will blow you out of the water in terms of conceptually what they're selling you there.
Well, what I like about my limited exposure with the Bing thing is that it shows its work, and this is it footnotes stuff that says, okay, like I said, here's where we found Doug Sleater was active on the Soul of Enterprise. I was half joking, but every answer is footnoted with, I'm showing you my work. Here's where I'm pulling this from, which I think that's really neat. That's one step above what just even ChatGPT 3.5 was doing, and I'm sure that they're incorporating Microsoft technology with ChatGPT 4. It's combining search and the artificial intelligence response and saying, okay, if I can show you on the web where I pulled this fact from, it's going to give you more confidence that the answer is correct.
Yeah, I think the future and the present of this stuff is not so much in the engine. Like I think we have proven that building the engine is not that difficult. So the searching tool, the parsing mechanism, the sorting and the intuitive prediction of the next word, I think that piece has been proven. I think the next challenge is how do we use these tools and know which context to narrow it to? Because I think that the power of ChatGPT is not its capacity to answer the average of humankind's knowledge. Can I narrow it to something in particular, that could be really interesting. But also that could be the challenge, the partisan challenge we have with politics too. Whereas, ChatGPT in many ways is blows up the microcosm of your political viewpoints. But once you can do, hey, ChatGPT, but only turn on Newsmax and only turn on Fox News and only turn on National Review, or the other side, right? Only turn on Washington Post. Like if you go into ChatGPT and turn on the plugins that you want to restrict the body of knowledge
stick
to search
to your bubble,
then you're just gonna get back to stick to your bubble. So in many ways, the current version of ChatGPT, even though it's crap because it's the average, it's the most fair, it's the most democratic. But I think that we might go back again to the problem with our bubbles, with the plugins, with the it's a negative piece. I'm actually for that. I want to be able to narrow down the context. Like, it would be really cool for me to say, hey, I'm going to pick the 7 authors that I love and, help me brainstorm about, what should I do with my business next, only within the context of the average of those 7 authors.
Of their work,
That's where the power is. That's where the potential is, I think.
Let's forget. We got to make sure that we do build it so that it can turn itself off. So that's why it's keep this on the desk at all times. The machine whose sole purpose is to turn itself off. Press the button to turn it on, it comes out and turns it off.
Well, my last philosophical question that I'll let you, I'm going to throw it at you so you can't sleep tonight, is once you start playing with ChatGPT and you watch it code, what's stopping it from recoding itself to write its own code? Nothing. And that's the scary part. That's the scary part.
Well, but we can always turn it off.
Who's we?
Turn it off. Like this.
Hector, we in this context would be the billionaires that wrote the letter begging us to stop researching artificial intelligence for 6 months.
If you combine the power of GPT with the blockchain, where there's no central anything on it, you will never turn it off. Can't turn it off. Can't. It's distributed, right? It's decentralized.
But this gets to Gilder's point. Ron, jump in here. At what point does it say? Because you gave a great example of those Disney villain names. Point is, you had to ask it the question.
Right.
There's no human. If there was no human creativity to say Disney villain in accounting, or would Disney villain? There's
you need the outside oracle.
Yeah, you need the outside oracle to make it happen.
Right.
Prompt engineering is a job of the future, basically.
Which is why I don't know about you, Greg, and Hector, same thing. I think I was talking about this. I'm actively encouraging my kids to use it with their schoolwork.
Yep.
Absolutely use it in your schoolwork. Absolutely. Learn how to take it and learn how to make sure that it's correct, verify it against other sources, and improve your work, and then submit that. And Christine was like, well, is this a good idea for them to do? Or, no, this is a great idea, because the jobs in the future are going to be, can you do this?
Can you do it? Yeah. It's like Wikipedia. Why wouldn't you start there at least?
You can't copy and paste Wikipedia. And you need to verify what ChatGPT is telling you. But that's called discernment.
I think some math professors will go back and go, this is why we teach math by hand prior to calculator first, so you can learn the stepping stones. So I think
have to know. You have to know the building blocks. Nobody is disputing that. You can't just say, okay, well, because you can't know how to ask the right question if you don't know what multiplication conceptually is.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. The answers have nowhere to go without a good question.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you know what? You're absolutely right. Yeah, have you said that in the live show? I think that's really interesting. With respect to ChatGPT, the power of the questions.
We've talked about that with Warren Berger and
but there was no ChatGPT then.
True.
So I would love to know Warren Berger's version of a beautiful question to ChatGPT. So that would be a good
I thought Tyler Cowen asked some beautiful questions to Jonathan Swift. with
Jonathan Swift.
ChatGPT. Some of those questions, Ed, were really good.
Yeah.
That he asked.
Yeah.
They're
I'll take a look at this, Greg. Was this a you thing, or was this a?
So in the chat window of Zoom, I've just placed a ChatGPT conversation that is me helping my son study for a math test. So he's in this accelerated math class. It's extremely difficult. This is the kind of class in middle school that kids fail out of, because
right.
we've decided to do this to our children at an early age for whatever reason. Right? So he comes home with the study guide and he finishes the study guide. And he's like, okay, I'm done. I'm like, just because you finished the study guide doesn't mean you're done studying for the test. And so I took some of the questions in his study guide, gave them to ChatGPT, said, here's the question. Please create a similar question so that we could generate new word problems to test his understanding of the concepts. And that's him interacting with the tool over a period of about 20 minutes one night while I was cooking dinner right there at the kitchen island. ChatGPT is a wonderful study guide for students, and they should not be restricted from using it. Now, I have told my children, do not use ChatGPT openly at school, right? Because teachers don't know how to deal with it yet. And I don't want one of my kids to be the example that sort of pops the bubble, right? The example being, you were cheating, we are going to expel you because you were using ChatGPT. We haven't had that conversation yet in the school system, and I don't want my kids to be at the forefront of it. So use ChatGPT at home, don't use it at school.
Wow.
Not at school.
Yes.
So, well, it's already shut down in the middle school. They can't. The middle school has had that forethought, and they've shut it down. They're like, nope, can't. Nope.
And South Park
can't
shut
have
it
this.
down.
That's the 6-month pause. So maybe call Musk and say, hey, we did it. We shut it down in middle school.
The middle school in Allen, Texas has shut it down. Has shut you down. You got to pause in Allen. All right, Hector, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you. That was great.
The regular show today. I know you got to run. I've got a baseball game to go to later on today, but so that's next up for me. And Greg, I'm sure you've got something going on too. But
super fun. Man.
I do.
Super fun.
Yep. Spring break. I'll be on vacation next week, but I will likely join you for the Friday show.
Okay. Fantastic.
Which means I have nothing to do on Monday morning, and it probably doesn't include a bonus episode since I listened to the whole thing. So maybe it includes a
really
mimosa
got nothing to do on
or
Monday
something.
morning.
Yeah.
I hate when you say that it's a Monday morning. I got nothing to do too early. Honestly, I think you're a great addition. I think you're a great addition to the bonus.
Thank you. Show. I mostly just want to get out of the way and let Ron and Ed do their thing.
Yeah.
But we won't let them.
All right, bye guys. Thank you so much.
Okay,
that was awesome.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
So.